to you live from the News Hub here at Adesawe Kanda. I am Portia Gabo.
And I am Martin Asiedu-Data. These are the headlines for the next 1 hour.
News360 Headlines is brought to you by
Flamingo Paint,
Pepsodent Charcoal and Pepsodent Herbal,
EcoBank.
Tonight, the Coalition of Trade and Freight Forwarders declare 4-day nationwide boycott over government's introduction of a new publican AI port system.
And also coming up tonight, University Teachers Association of Ghana issues 14-day ultimatum to government to remove Director General of the Ghana Tertiary Education Commission and his deputy over alleged overstepping of their mandates.
And later in the bulletin, Ashanti region largest landfill site nears shutdown as Kumasi faces growing waste crises amid rising daily volumes and limited disposal capacity.
Coming up in business news, governments to lose nearly $500 million cedis monthly for every 1 cedi cut in fuel taxes amid planned review and Middle East tensions.
And later on the international front, U.S. blockade of Iranian port takes effect as President Trump threatens to destroy Iranians' attack ships. We are live around the world on 3news.com. That's our website. We are on Facebook and on YouTube. Just look for TV3 Ghana.
In our first story, the University Teachers Association of Ghana, UTAG, has issued a 14-day ultimatum to government to remove the Director General of the Ghana Tertiary Education Commission, Professor Abdullahi Jinapor, and his deputy. UTAG accuses the GTEC boss of overstepping his mandate by interfering in post-retirement contract of lecturers, downgrading academic staff, and micromanaging university councils. Daniel Opoku was at the press conference and filed this report.
The University Teachers Association of Ghana, UTAG, says its 14-day ultimatum follows an earlier petition submitted to the President John Dramani Mahama in February this year, calling for the removal of the Ghana Tertiary Education Commission Director General, Professor Abdullahi Jinapor, over similar concerns. Although the presidency requested time to address the matter, UTAG says no concrete action has been taken. Addressing a news conference in Accra, UTAG's national president, Professor Vera Fiado, expressed frustration that the situation persists. UTAG further alleges that the Director General, Professor Abdullahi Jinapor, has petitioned the Controller and Accountant General to downgrade a lecturer's salary, an action the association describes as an unfair labor practice.
UTAG further notes unilateral variation and selective implementation of negotiated conditions of service, including issues affecting research fellows and librarians on various campuses, promotion areas, as well as salary clearance and payment delays for legitimately engaged staff. These practices undermine good faith collective bargaining, strain labor relations, and heighten the risk of avoidable industrial instability across the public tertiary education sector.
Professor Fiado reiterated UTAG's demand for the removal of Professor Abdullahi Jinapor and his deputy.
The GTEC directives and circulars dated 30th September 2025 and 1st October 2025 will be withdrawn with immediate effect and subjected to structured stakeholder consultation and harmonization with existing legal frameworks and negotiated conditions of service. We also ask, fourth, that all existing post-retirement contracts entered into prior to the said directives be protected and allowed to run their full course without interference.
UTAG warns that the government has 14 days to act to safeguard industrial harmony across university campuses.
We are by this press statement, however, serving notice that if appropriate actions are not taken to satisfactorily address our demands within 14 days from today, we shall, upon further consultation with our rank and file, advise ourselves accordingly. Thank you.
The Coalition of Trade and Freight Forwarders Association has declared a 4-day nationwide boycott in protest against the government's introduction of the publican AI tool at the ports. According to the group, the system is disrupting trade operations, increasing the cost of doing business and leading to significant financial losses for importers and clearing agents.
The government recently introduced the Public Trade Solution, an AI system, as part of efforts to digitize port operations, improve efficiency, and enhance revenue collection. The group cites several instances where the new AI-driven charging system has significantly increased duties, some by as much as 300%, placing a heavy burden on businesses and slowing down cargo clearance processes. Paul Mensah is the General Secretary of the Ghana Institute of Freight Forwarders.
Somebody bringing Toyota Voxy. The Voxy that they say shouldn't be commercially used, which I pay 69,000 cedis. Now it is 7,980,000. For the same Voxy, I pay 69,000. So if it is not a flaw, if it is not an error, and then they explain that the AI is not valuing vehicles. So which customs officer, having gone through a training, will sit down and value a car, a vehicle, a 7-seater vehicle, 7 million? There are so many of them, but they'll tell you, oh, these are just few. These are just few. If we are to bring those ones to you, you marvel. And if really there are few, how come the port is congested?
The General Secretary of the Ghana Institute of Freight Forwarders, Paul Mensah, noted that the situation could worsen if authorities fail to engage stakeholders and address concerns.
Declaration of industrial action that we are taking for the coordinated strike action from tomorrow to Friday. Right after that, the traders will also bring their action for the following week, so that all this will continue till years are given to our issues.
Let's now go to the Ashanti region, where the Oti landfill site that serves Kumasi and its surrounding municipalities faces a possible shutdown within the next 3 months. City authorities warn the facility has reached full capacity and can no longer accommodate the growing volume of waste generated daily. Ibrahim Abubakar was at the landfill site and reports on the worsening sanitation situation.
Mountains of unprocessed waste and an overwhelming stench define the current state of the Oti landfill site, the main waste disposal facility serving Kumasi and beyond. Now stretched beyond its limit, the site is struggling to cope with the sheer volume of waste dumped here daily.
For now, we are running at about 2,000, 2,500 tons per day for the greater Kumasi. What is happening is that waste from the adjoining districts are all coming here, and so the quantity has increased tremendously.
The situation is being worsened by the inadequate waste management infrastructure and the absence of effective recycling systems. Long queues have become the norm for tricycle waste collectors who spend hours waiting to dispose of refuse at the site.
If the machine is a new one, if you pour the boiler here, the machine will push the boiler from here to this palm tree so that it will level it. And the second one will put it. So even 10 motors will pour all the boiler down and it will put always level.
The bulldozers have worked for years. They need to be replaced by now. The contractor operating the site who owns this equipment has not been paid for over 2 years. So you can't complain, ask him to replace the machines. But then if he is paid and the machines are replaced, we will not have such problems here.
City authorities say the situation has reached a critical point, warning the landfill could hit full capacity within months if urgent measures are not implemented.
Previously, we had indicated that we are going to close it in a matter of 18 months. Today, as we speak, if nothing is done urgently by all of us, within the next 3 months, we are likely to shut our final disposal sites and stop every assembly within Greater Kumasi save maybe Asokwa Municipal Assembly from dumping their refuse at the final disposal site. They may have to look for places where they will dump their refuse.
To address the looming crisis, the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly says plans are underway to construct 2 landfill cells at an estimated cost of 6 million euros.
We are engaging with my sector ministry on how best to have some amount of money out of the 6 million. Just so even if we can do 1 cell in the medium term, it can take us to about 2-3 years for us to manage the waste.
Environmental observers caution that failure to act swiftly could trigger major sanitation crisis in the city. The fate of this landfill site now hangs in the balance as city authorities race against time to find sustainable solutions to the growing waste problem in Kumasi. They say key interventions will help to prevent a full-blown sanitation crisis in the Ashanti regional capital. Ibrahim Abubakar, TV3 News, Oti landfill site, Kumasi.
We're staying in the Ashanti region where a pastor has been arrested for allegedly attempting to bury a 5-month-old baby alive at Abofrim in the Echumampunya district of the Ashanti region. The suspect, Apostle Dr. Richmond Akwesi Frimpong, head pastor of Anointed Grace Prayer Ministry at Kufuor Camp, was apprehended following the incident, which has left residents in shock.
An eyewitness, Winfred Agba, says he spotted a pastor and accomplice at a refuse dump at about 11 p.m. holding the baby under suspicious circumstances. He says he intervened and discovered the child was still alive and about to be buried.
I came to meet the 3 of them and I asked them what they are doing here. They told me it's their baby who has passed on and they are here to bury it. I insisted seeing the child. That's when I found out that the baby is alive. We later sent them to the chief.
The chief linguist of Abofrem, Nanaya Obidu, also confirmed that the pastor had earlier informed him that the baby had died, prompting him to direct them to a burial site. He says he was unaware the child was still alive at the time.
I was told one man from this area heard some noise in the bush and rushed to see what was happening there. What he found out was that the baby the culprit claimed was dead was still alive.
Police at BBNE have since arrested the suspect and his accomplice and say investigations are ongoing. The baby has been taken to the Abofrem clinic and is receiving medical treatment.
In more news tonight, Health Minister Kwabena Minta Kando says he was unaware that family planning commodities donated by the United Nations Population Fund had remained at the Tema port since August 2024, describing the situation as unfortunate. Speaking during a media engagement, the minister indicated he had assumed the supplies meant to support reproductive health services and prevent stockouts across health facilities had long been cleared.
The issue about lock-up containers at the port, you all know my position on those things. And so since I took office as a minister responsible, you can find out. This is the first time you are hearing of a container being locked at the port uncleared. And that was somewhere in 2024. But unfortunately, this beat my radar. And so I thought it had already been cleared. And so the officer in charge has even been queried, because he hit a snack and he was supposed to come back to me. And I always tell my directors, when I give you a responsibility and you hit a rock, please come back. And then, but the good news is that the action has been expedited on it for the clearing of it. And I can assure the country that we'll do whatever it takes, because we want more donations. And once they come and it comes to my attention, we'll clear them on time. So anybody at all listening to me, if you want to bring us Ghana, some items, you just need to come and consult the ministry, and you consign it to the ministry. Once you consign it to the ministry and they come, we will clear them for you. So this is, I think, the first case I've heard of since I assumed office as a minister, and we'll expedite action on it.
Let's speak to the chairman of the Global Fund Country Coordinating Mechanism, Ghana, Ernest Amwabin. Ernest, thank you so much for your time. We just heard from the minister. He said he was unaware about the situation. He thought these commodities had been cleared. But what does this tell you about the current system of monitoring and accountability of donor commodities?
All right. Thank you very much, and a very good evening to your viewers. A slight correction, I'm the vice chair, I'm not the chair.
Sure,
so
thank
please
you.
take note of that, yes. Well, it tells me that the lessons from 2024 were not learned quite well. Because in 2024, when we had this issue, government took a decision to set up a committee to ensure that this situation will not recur. And I remember this committee had representation from the Ministry of Health, Ministry of Finance, the Ports and Harbour, the Ghana Revenue Authority. But I remember that civil society was not represented on that particular committee. I also remember that the donor partners who donate these items as were also not represented on that committee. So some way, somehow, I knew we were going to come back to this issue, because we drew their attention that the committee they had formed was one-sided and that they needed representation from the other side as well, but it was not needed to at that point. So I am not surprised that we are back to this situation.
What long and short-term measures should we implement to prevent this from occurring?
So the ministry has got to designate an officer or an office and make it generally known. When the minister spoke about the fact that these items must be consigned to the ministry. Now, if you don't come up with a framework which shows how some of these things should be done, people will not know. My understanding was that previously there was a blanket waiver for these commodities. And so whenever they came in, they were cleared. Unfortunately, that blanket waiver regime was abused. And so in 2017, when the SY government took over, they decided to do away with that regime. And then they introduced this new one where for every item that comes in, you need to go through the Ministry of Finance, the GRA, to get a clearance. Unfortunately, in trying to address that problem, they ended up creating more problems. And that's how come we are getting these commodities get stuck at the port again. So the ministry needs to revisit this issue and make sure that they call the various stakeholders, and then we will all sit down, put our ideas together as to how best we can avoid this situation. Because it's quite embarrassing that these communities are donated and they get stuck at the port. So the minister or the ministry have got to have a comprehensive solution that addresses this once and for all.
Ernest, thank you so much for your time. Ernest Amwabin is Vice Chair of the Global Fund Country Coordinating Mechanism, Ghana.
Let's do some politics now. The chairman of the National Democratic Congress, Johnson Asiedu Nketia, has warned that moles within the party will be fished out as the government takes shape. Addressing party supporters at Asawase, Mr. Sedun Ketia said that the NDC is determined to retain the Asawase seat. William Evans Inkum has filed the following report.
The Asawase constituency has shown consistency election after election since its creation in 2004. It is the constituency of the current Interior Minister. And to the NDC, specifically the national chairman of the party, this is one particular constituency that has been laying the golden egg like that goose, and it will be protected jealously, literally. But what they cannot afford to see is losing this particular seat to their political rival. That is the MPP.
Yeah. MPP for 2 years, let's just say party no. You 2 years was anti-Memu. Now you so you have to say. Obi we yasuida enti ehade ukosurumba from NDC yabekoso atrasa asawati akuna.
National chairman has also been talking about party loyalty, and to him there are people who are moles in the ruling, and they say, and for such people the wool be fished out.
24-hour economy no na ma kra nyere ho. Now only one more 24-hour economy there. Okwa Juma every no pakoti anumera 12 hours. Ewo NDC. Enyuno jua. Now asa abake ne niema no okwa MPP so. Anumera koti say ade beche 12 hours. Enti oya 12 hours to NDC no akwa 12 hours ewo MPP. Sa for no there.
Member of Parliament for Asawase constituency will also double as the Interior Minister has also been speaking. Muntaka Mubarak Mohammed says, yes, indeed, there are people who are still crying over jobs. The government is making every frantic effort to ensure that those people also get some level of employment. But patience for him is the key. Johnson Sedun Ketia continues his tour, a thank you tour of the Ashanti region. This is the third phase which has been activated. We will continue to bring you more updates on that. William Ibansinkum, TV3 News, Kumasi.
Away from the Ashanti region, from conviction in absentia to a pending extradition in the United States, the case of former MASLOC CEO Sedinam Tamaklu has entered a critical new phase. And Yunam Haliga has more in this explainer.
The case of the MASLOC CEO Sedina Tamaklu Ationu has entered a critical new phase, shifting from conviction to imminent enforcement. Now, a little background to the story. In 2024, an Accra High Court sentenced the former head microfinance and small loan center to 10-year imprisonment with hard labor after finding her guilty of causing financial loss to the state alongside multiple offenses including stealing and money laundering. Now, the case, which involved the misapplication of millions of Ghana cedis meant for micro and small-scale enterprises, also saw the conviction of businessman Daniel Axon. But while the conviction was secured in Ghana, Sedina Tamaklu Ationu was not present in court, having remained outside the country, raising questions about whether she could be brought back to serve her 10-year sentence. That uncertainty has now been significantly reduced. A U.S. District Court in Nevada has certified her extradition to Ghana, confirming that it is probable cause that all legal requirements under the extradition treaty between Ghana and the United States have been met. The court has said that she will be held in custody of the United States Marshal Service pending a final decision by the U.S. Secretary of State on whether she should be surrendered to the Ghanaian authorities. Now, according to an immigration lawyer, Amanda Clinton, this marks a major legal milestone, but not the final step.
The point is, she submitted to Ghana's jurisdiction by being part of that trial, and then she left on the basis of the medical, and she absconded. So under any laws, she absconded, full stop. And then secondly, she can't argue that this is a political witch hunt because this is, again, her party, one would argue, in terms of the people who mounted those steps with her, the High Court, very high-profile women mounted those steps with her in complete support, who are now in power, and they supported her, and she went to abscond, which looks bad on the party, it looks bad on the leadership, and it looks bad that, she ran out on those sureties and they truly believed that she would come back.
Now, she explains that once a court certifies extradition, the process moves from the judicial phase to the executive phase. The U.S. Secretary of State must now review the case and make a final determination on whether to approve the transfer.
It's definitely been finalized in terms of a court has said that she can be extradited, but the executive branch must then confirm that in terms of, this whole process can take anything from 3 months to 8 months. And the reason I say that is that, if there's some administrative delays, it'll take 2 to 4 months. And if she contests this in terms of, legal filings, etc., it could take 4 to 8 months. But on the face of it, it has been granted. And once approval is granted, and the executive confirms that she can be extradited, then, transfer logistics begin, and then she surrenders to Ghana. And upon arrival, she'll just start serving her sentence because she has been convicted in absentia, basically.
Now, if this is approved, Sedina Tamaklu Ationu won't be handed over to the Ghanaian authority to begin serving her prison sentence. Legal experts say the development represents one of the clearest examples of cross-border cooperation in Ghana's efforts to enforce accountability in high-profile corruption case. Now, what began as a conviction in absentia has now evolved into a near-complete legal process, with only final authorization standing between the ruling and its enforcement. For now, the case stands at a decisive moment, no longer about whether she can be returned, but when that return will happen. Enyunam Haliga, TV3 News, Accra.
Still watching News 360. Stay with us. We have business, sports, and entertainment coming up after this.
The business segment is brought to you by MTN. Touch concentrated perfume.
And hello there, good evening. Welcome to the business segment here on News 360. I am Michael Obodu. Now, financial economist Professor Isaac Boedi has warned that the government's planned review of fuel taxes could create a significant revenue gap. This comes on the back of recent caution that every 1 cedi deduction may cost the state nearly $500 million cedis in monthly revenue.
The numbers that we have, in fact, if you consider the price floor of about 13 for petrol and then 17 point something for diesel, you then do the calculation and realize that roughly about 31% for petrol and about 20-something% also will be for diesel in terms of the total quantum of how much the taxes and then the margins they make up on the price floor. So if you do this mathematics, it just tells you that yes, any reduction will obviously have impacts on the revenue side of this government, likely to create a revenue gap. And as to how the government is going to take care of that revenue gap, we are yet to be told.
Agriculture Minister Eric Opoku says a planned fertilizer plant and cashew processing facility could create millions of jobs as the government moves to expand local agro-industry and reduce reliance on imports. This report has the details.
The agreement with Central Group Limited is part of efforts to shift Ghana from exporting raw commodities to processing them locally. Officials say local fertilizer production could help lower input costs for farmers and improve food security over time. The move comes as Ghana rolls out one of its largest fertilizer support programs, with 272,000 metric tons expected to be distributed nationwide under the 2026 budget. However, details around funding and timelines for the new plant remain unclear.
All this while we've been importing fertilizer from other countries. And whenever there's some kind of turbulence in the global environment, fertilizer prices are affected. Now we want to ensure that fertilizer is produced here in Ghana. And Central Company Limited, already settled in Ghana, already operating in other spheres of our economy, have decided to move into fertilizer production.
The minister spoke on job creation potential of the projects.
Once the factory is processing, they will need more people to support them, and that will bring in a lot of jobs. So it's an opportunity to create millions of jobs for the sustainable jobs that will pay them well.
If implemented successfully, the project could reshape Ghana's agricultural value chain, though past initiatives have faced delays.
Now, sports retail giant Decathlon has officially launched Optimum Nutrition, a new line of nutritional supplements aimed at supporting fitness enthusiasts and bodybuilders. The launch event brought together members of Ghana's growing fitness community, highlighting the role of proper supplementation in achieving performance goals.
Decathlon is a globally recognized sports brand known for providing accessible and high-quality sporting equipment, apparel, and fitness solutions. With a growing presence in Ghana, the company continues to expand its footprint in the health and wellness space, now introducing nutritional supplements to support active lifestyles and athletic performance. Chief Executive Officer of MMC Polyclinic and Yves Rocha, Dr. Joanna Fadu, emphasized the importance of using supplements to support a balanced diet. She noted that when used correctly, these products can enhance recovery, improve performance, and contribute to overall well-being.
Quality protein supports muscle recovery, boosts energy, and helps maintain overall wellness, especially in today's busy lifestyles. Creatinine, another well-researched supplement, helps improve strength, enhance exercise performance, and support muscle growth, making it a valuable addition for those looking to optimize their training results.
Brand influencer for Optimum Nutrition, Carol Adote, cautioned users against relying solely on supplements without proper nutrition. He added that consistent use alongside a healthy diet is key to seeing real results.
When your carbohydrate level is low, the muscle looks what? They look flabby, they don't look too good, don't look full on the gym. Exactly. So your carbs have to be on point. So this creatine, what it does is it will draw water into the muscle, increase your resting, okay, like your recovery rate, okay, and will also increase your strength. Because when you start taking creatine, what you realize immediately is weight gain in like 1 week.
The event also featured engaging activities, including a competitive tug of war, adding energy and excitement to the launch.
And that'll be all for the business segment here on News 360. I am Michael Obodu. Up next is sports.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the sports segment here on News 360 with me, Oreku Ampofo. The Executive Council of the Ghana Football Association, working with all key stakeholders, has appointed Portuguese Carlos Queiroz as the head coach of the senior national team. The former Real Madrid, Manchester United, Portugal, and Iran coach will lead Ghana's campaign at the 2026 FIFA World Cup in Canada, Mexico, and the United States. He led South Africa to qualification for the 2002 FIFA World Cup, guided Portugal to the semi-finals of the 2010 edition, and took charge of Iran at the last three World Cups in 2014, 2018, and 2022. He also had coaching roles in Egypt, Oman, Japan, and Qatar, and is expected to bring his wealth of experience to bear during the World Cup in 2026. Coach Queiroz begins work immediately to prepare the Black Stars for the tournament, which kicks off on June 11, 2026. He signed a 4-year deal with an option to extend to 2 years if Ghana reaches the last 8 of the World Cup. Let's now hear from Queiroz, who has spoken to the Ghana Football Association and will be getting his first words as he looks to coach the Black Stars. And he says that today I accept the mission with the same passion and commitment that have guided me throughout my career. Ghana is a nation of talent, pride, and footballing soul. I arrive with respect for its history and belief in its future. Together with unity, discipline, and ambition, we will work to honor the expectations of a great football nation. He also says, this is not just another job, it is a mission. I am ready to give everything of my experience and knowledge once again in service of the game and the happiness of people. And so this is a list of the countries that he's managed throughout his long career, which dates all the way back into the 90s. He started with Portugal, the country where he comes from, then made the trip to Africa for the first time in the early 2000s. He then went back to Portugal, coached Iran, Colombia, Egypt again, once again in Africa, Iran, Qatar, and his last job being on. Well, let's do some more here, where a dark cloud has been cast over Ghana football following a tragic incident involving Brekum Chelsea. What began as a routine journey back home after a league defeat in the Ghana Premier League ended in horror after the team was attacked by armed robbers, an incident that has claimed the life of one of their players, Dominic Frimpong. This report by 3 Sports has more details.
Evening, players of Brekum Chelsea began what should have been a routine journey home after a narrow 1-0 defeat to Samatex. But that trip will take a tragic turn, one that has left the entire Ghanaian football community in shock. Traveling in a VIP bus, the team encountered 6 armed men along the route. In the chaos that followed, players and officials scrambled for safety. However, 20-year-old winger Dominic Frimpong, who had joined the club on loan from Aduana FC, was caught in the crossfire and tragically lost his life.
Into ono the echo to be into your market na kura na nyi sukura no so be sorry no so yeren or sorry because at time Dominic no no kwa on 2 step o free by slim stilandi from na bullet na can into man yen ho hwe no odaho.
This is not an isolated incident. In November 2023, players and officials of Legon cities were ambushed by armed robbers on the Bibiani-Kumasi highway after a Ghana Premier League fixture. Earlier in March 2022, Ashanti Gold also fell victim to a similar attack at Asinindra while returning to Obuasi from an Accra-based match. And in 2019, Division 1 League side Asokwa Deportivo were attacked near Jacobu en route to Prestia, though they escaped without physical harm. a troubling pattern is emerging, one that continues to cast a shadow over domestic football. These repeated incidents have raised serious concerns about the safety and travel arrangements of local clubs across the country.
Very painful. Very, very painful. Also, ordinarily, everybody would say, oh, well, why don't these clubs sleep over after these games? But a lot of planning goes into it. Sometimes it's difficult, and we don't have the resources to sleep over in such situations. Secondly, it's necessary that we get police.
Well, that's how we'll be wrapping up the sports segment here on News 360. My name is Oreku Ampofo.
Welcome to the entertainment news segment here on News 360. My name is Noella Donko. Now, it was a night of music, energy, and star power in Florida as the Experience concert brought together some of Ghana's biggest artists for an unforgettable live show. It was a night packed with back-to-back performances from some of the biggest hitmakers in the game. The Experience concert lit up the Koforidua Youth Resource Center Stadium as excited patrons filled the venue for an unforgettable night with their favorite artists. The night kicked off on a high note with fast-rising talents delivering impressive performances and setting the stage for what was to come. And just when the crowd thought it couldn't get any better, gospel powerhouse PSA Esther took over, lifting spirits with an electrifying performance. The energy stayed sky high as last minute, Wendy Shea and Medical took turns thrilling fans with their hit songs. Then came the moment many had been waiting for. BIM Nation President Stoneboy. He brought the night to life with a powerful performance, leaving thousands of fans singing along and wanting more.
So it's all fun and it's a privilege. Some of us, if they should have done it in Accra, we have to travel all the way to Accra to see our favorite artists. But being here in Koforidua is an opportunity for us. So we thank them and we are having fun.
Thank you so much for bringing this show here. It's been an enjoyable performances from all the artists, and we say God bless you. We thank you so much.
Well, that's it for the entertainment news segment here on News 360. My name is Noella Donko.
Thank you so much, Noella. On the international front, a U.S. blockade of Iran's ports has taken effect. In a social media post, U.S. President Donald Trump warned that any Iranian fast attack ships caught trying to approach the blockade will be immediately eliminated.
Thank you so much for watching News 360 on TV3. It was live from our studio here at Disawe Kanda in Accra. I am Martin Asiedu-Date.
And I am Portia Gabo. There's Ghana Tonight at 10 with Alfredo Kanse. Good evening.